electric working.
You had enough light?
Yeah, I have a muted light, but it's actually quite pretty.
Well, it's better than probably all that sunlight coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the sun comes in.
Yeah. So, let's see, it's May 5th, no, 6th, 2007. And I think we haven't done one of these since you moved
Not
here.
since we've been here. Not
Since
since
you've been in
I've
this
been
place,
here.
so
Yeah.
quite a while. And I think where we kind of left off in your story was about the time you moved from California. That would be the summer of '66.
That was a horrendous move. You must remember all about that
I
move.
I remember
kid.
it from my perspective.
Well, you
of
remember,
course.
I know.
And I was only 13, so I wasn't.
But it's not like a little child.
No,
right?
it wasn't. It wasn't like a little. I remember a fair amount of it, certainly.
I wish I could remember all the it's getting so that I can't even remember all the details of that trip because I told that story so many times when we got back because it was so weird,
Well, time to tell
But
it one
I
more
can't
time.
remember, and I remember I was telling, I think maybe you, about the night that we had to go out in the country in that town in Arizona someplace, and it was.
Was it Bixby?
We had to
Arizona?
wait. We had to wake up the guy that lived in that house in a residential part of the town because he was a mechanic.
So what exactly was wrong with the car? It was the
Well, they
station
had
wagon.
all the problem was caused by a tune-up or checkup that Dad had on the car before we left for this trip.
And that old '63.
And the
was it?
station wagon, the red station
Red
wagon, whatever
Ford.
year that was. I don't remember the year. And they had forgotten to connect the spring that holds the transmission, just a little spring. Now, I know nothing about cars,
Yeah.
so I can't tell you what this is. A little simple spring at the bottom of the transmission, so the transmission just kept going out of commission. Whatever the transmission does, well, it's the air
Kept
shifts,
slipping
right?
or something. And you and I were in that car, right?
Well, you weren't in there first. I
Oh.
was alone, and everybody was jammed in in the other car.
In the Volkswagen, the old blue
But,
Volkswagen.
and the dog everybody couldn't have been there. I think I must have had Timmy or somebody with me in that big car. But we had a lot of stuff back in that car too. Moving and everything. We had a lot of stuff in the car. And then finally, nobody would ride with me, so you had to. The oldest, nobody would ride in the car. It was so scary. So it was a terrible trip. We should have known there was bad omen.
It was a bad omen.
Bad omen.
Oh, well.
We were supposed to get there in, 3 days? And it took us like 5
days.
5 or 6, because we had to stay overnight.
Yep. And everybody else was in that little blue Volkswagen convertible with no heater.
It was
59.
Christmas, warm summer. But we got rid of that soon because I don't know what happened to it, but it had to have a heater, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Because
it didn't last much longer after that.
yeah, that just wore the poor whole thing.
Probably did.
That was terrible. But we were facing our new future.
What did you think about it? I mean, at that time, you mentioned before that, the story about, your last days on the beach and how you had at least mixed feelings about moving.
Yeah, I was always the one that wanted to go back when we were first married. California was fine for a vacation, but it wasn't, vacation land.
Yeah.
It wasn't Chicago.
No, it wasn't what you had.
Remembering that I went to school in Chicago and spent my years there. I had a good job in Chicago. And I was in town every day, and I had an apartment on the near north side that was just a few blocks from the lake and across the street from the Ambassador East. And I used to see celebrities in the corner there. Take a cab to work if I was late, It was a luxury, jump in a cab, because the cab stand was across the street at the hotel, Ambassador East. And I loved to go away to California because Barbara lived there. I loved the beach. I loved California. But after, I was there, I missed. And I missed snow and the seasons and, stuff. So I was the one that sort of wanted to come back. But by the time we we moved, we decided to go back, I was settled there. I had 5 children. That's a big mess to pack up and change, move. And you were just starting high school, and of course, I suppose that if we were going to move, there would probably be as good a time as any. You'd have changed schools anyway. But anyway, that's the way it was. I had friends there, not friends. We had connections. We had fun. We had a nice house. We just painted the whole house, got new furniture, not that new, but do you remember our living room was all redone? Backyard was all fixed up after we struggled with that for years. Everything was like
Finally, was
done.
shape. And then you moved.
Rose garden in the front there.
So Dad mentioned in his oral history that his reasons for the move, which I believe had to do with unhappiness at work and wanting something else and wanting the kids to grow up in a different environment. Did you share all those feelings, or did you have some of your own for moving?
I think mainly it was economic. I think it was mainly job. I think he just, I didn't see any, certainly didn't see any getting anywhere. He was never going to move out of that slot that he was in. Plus it was feast and famine and, up and down and up and down. They'd get a contract, and you have to hire a bunch of people, 100 people, have to hire girls to work on the assembly, Then they'd finish that contract. And then there'd be nobody. And then you didn't know whether they were going to get another contract. You didn't know whether to just close up that department, That's the way the business was.
The uncertainty of it.
Very uncertain.
And he never got laid off in those last several years.
No, he wasn't. He was the management. Sometimes they would transfer them to something else, some other work, But he never was laid up. They would keep them until there was no one there, until there were no contracts, and of course there was always contracts. On the boards or something. They always bid on all kinds of contracts, and some would come through, some wouldn't come through. It would be a little nerve-wracking. Nothing did, but up until the time we left. But he must have felt that he didn't tell me everything, and he didn't know either. Big, huge company. They didn't confide in him what their plans were going to be. But he must have felt that that it didn't look good. And he certainly would know more than I would about it. I think that was number one.
Then you were just kind of prepared to go along with his decision about that, or did he have to talk you into it? Or?
Well, he was the one that was going to work and make enough money to support a big family.
So pretty much his decision.
I always worked, but I wasn't able to earn enough to support family of 7, hardly.
So my memory is probably not that great about exactly when in that summer of '66 we arrived in Batavia. Do you remember?
August.
Was it August?
Got there in August.
So just before or after my birthday? It must have been before. So early August.
Maybe we started in July. No, because remember the 4th of July that he came back from Illinois and found out that he got that job. Then we were trying to sell the house,
So by the end of July.
And I think he probably was supposed to start on the 1st of August. But, we didn't sell the house. And it took us longer to get there. And so it was probably your birthday right after we got there, but I don't remember that birthday at all.
I don't either.
Your 13th? You're 13?
No, it's turned 14.
14th birthday? I just don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't remember much about it either.
We had moved into that house, and
Yeah.
I liked the house.
The house was on
Jefferson
Street, that's right. It had a nice deck on the back.
And a nice yard, and then the
civic field was
facing the
behind.
field. Yeah, it was a nice neighborhood. However, it was kind of a goofy-looking house.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little
Great big front yard.
a little shabby looking.
Yeah.
You know.
At the yard that went way back,
Yeah.
But I guess they fixed who moved.
So
fixed it up.
when you first got back and you were on, who were the first persons you went to see or came to see you? You remember?
Well, I think we stopped at Gordy's
Mm-hmm.
because that's the way we always came.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took us over. Then he and Marie took us over to that house because they'd been working on that house. My mother and Marie cleaned and washed and cleaned up the house. And,
Where you were going to stay.
yeah, the new house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would think we stayed. We had no furniture or anything, so we must have stayed between Cassie and my mother and Gordy and Marie. Split us. I think we all split up and stayed. We stayed at Gordy's. Can't remember.
You see your parents right away?
Yeah. But I don't remember the exact time.
I do remember something that there was a big party around that time.
Oh, do you? It was
Yeah.
your birthday.
Well, it wasn't for me. It was you two you and Dad going out and coming back rather late in the evening and having trouble making it up the stairs. Don't remember anything about that.
In the new house?
On the Jefferson Street house.
Oh, no.
Oh well. So then what? It was your just kind of getting used to things and.
Well, you know, we were only there a little while. Louette comes to
Tell me about that.
well, she was in the middle of a very bad breakdown. Remember, at the time we moved. That lasted quite a while, that breakdown. And I suppose Ralph was just beside himself. And so she comes after we'd been in this new house for maybe 2-3 weeks. She comes with Krista, baby Krista, who was just a little 3 months old, 3-4 months old baby. She was born in May, June, July, August, 4 months old. And Heidi, who was Timmy's age. And she couldn't do anything, you know. Couldn't cook, couldn't do anything, you know. I have to say, now you set the table. And so I had a family of 7 of my own, and then I get 3 more. I had to rent a crib. I rented a double bed for her and Heidi to sleep in, or her to sleep in.
She just invite herself, or did you invite her?
No, she said, yeah. I had told her, you can come. When we left, I said, oh, you can come and visit. Not thinking quite that soon,
right that
you
way,
know. But so she did. And I had said to her that she could come and visit. So, But they didn't stay that long, actually. They weren't there that long. And they bought that. What precipitated this breakdown is they bought that house on Flying Main, a beautiful home on Palos Verdes, way up in the top. Did you went to that house when you visited?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a beautiful house. And she couldn't cope with that move, I guess. That was one of the reasons. But then by the time she got back, she was getting over it, and then she did very well for a while in that house. So, but I know I remember, reason I remember that trip so much is that Krista cried at night all the time. And of course, we had all these kids and people in that house, and she would just cry and cry and cry. And then had a little cold, too, so I think I sent her to whatever doctor I was going to. Must have been O'Dwyer, I guess. And I think he gave her a little something, you know, so that she would sleep a little better. Because that must have been hard on a little kid, you know, all different. And then with Louette having been sick anyway, it must have been, sort of a tumultuous time for a little baby. We shifted here and there and a long trip, and anyway, it was. And then she got better that second week anyway, that she was there.
So let's
I
see.
remember that part.
So she was just there for a week or two?
I think she was there for about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
And then it was time to get everybody ready to go to school at new
But
schools.
then we were in the other house.
Well, we moved to that.
I mean, not that house, not the other house. But I mean, we were going to have to move
Van Nortwick
for some reason.
Yeah, we were just
What
barely
did
there.
we have to? Oh, they were selling that house that we moved into. And so they would bring people. Do you remember we'd be having dinner and they'd be bringing people? No, here's the kitchen, and and it was in other words, we were living there, and we had to act as we had to keep everything clean, have the beds made. And I had all these kids.
But we were renting it.
Terrible.
We were renting the
We
place.
were renting. So of course I said we had to. This part of my life is not really all that fun.
No.
So
it
it's
wasn't.
going to turn out, if anybody listens to it, like, oh my God, what a cry of woe.
Well,
but it was
it was
just
a tough
one
time.
thing after another.
Yeah. It was a very busy time.
Yeah. And anyway, then.
So you had to start packing up and move again. Was it hard to find that place so close by on Van Borthwick?
I don't know. Bob Wall was a friend of Cassie's, and he owned that house, and he couldn't sell it. So it was a bad time economically for selling. Because we couldn't sell our house, and before
In
we
California.
moved, we had to rent our house because we couldn't sell it. And of course, we had to rent until we sold ours, so we had to have a rental. So he couldn't sell his, so he said he would rent ours a year lease, which means we had to rent a house for a year. However, it's a good thing we had a place to live for a year because we didn't sell our house for a year. Never did I think that house would take that long for that house to sell, but it did. And then so we heard of this house, and it was fine. Kind of bleak out there across the street, the cornfield.
Yeah, there's nothing but a cornfield out there.
Yeah, remember the lonely tree out in the middle?
A little tree way out there by itself.
Little lonely tree, the kids call it. And the wind would come up, and the mice and rats would come out of the cornfields and sneak in.
Did you hate that
I was
place?
not crazy about that house. There was nothing, it was just a plain brick, well-built brick house. Small dining area, terrible kitchen, gloomy kitchen, no fireplace, nice garage, however. Remember that garage? Big,
The big garage.
nice cement
Split level.
split level. You and Mark were down. You and Mark were downstairs.
In the basement.
Kurt and Timmy in one room. Yeah. I don't think that room is it. Now that I think of that room, how
Three
they
bedrooms
fit in
upstairs.
that. Yeah, how they fit in that little room. Because Melinda had that front bedroom. We had the corner bedroom. And Timmy and Kurt was in a crib. Well, they must have fit in there, or else maybe he slept in the basement was huge. Maybe he slept in another bed in the basement, but I don't think so, because he was just 5. Maybe he did.
So we moved into that probably in September?
In the fall
October?
sometime.
September or October of 66.
Well, when did we move in the house? It's in the fall sometime, and I would know because if I knew when we moved into because the lease would run
No,
out
it
in.
was the fall of 67 we moved into
Yeah, it was fall, but I don't remember what
Jackson Street.
month. So just in another year, we moved to Jackson Street. Yeah.
So at this point was...
We were there by Halloween, I remember, because remember Melinda going trick-or-treating with the little girl up the street. And you kids, you and Mark, I think, took Timmy.
So I was going to the little Batavia Junior High, which was your old high school. And actually I had one of your old teachers, I remember, telling me. I had that teacher when I was going to school, you said.
Mildred Tort? No, she would have been dead. Oh, I think it was. Oh, it couldn't have been Miss Peterson. You remember her?
Could have been.
We thought she was old when I was in high school.
Yeah, I can't...
But she wasn't really that. She was one of those prissy teachers, She was smart and everything, a street teacher. But she looked a lot older than she actually was. So she could have been 20 years later.
I don't remember this woman's name, but I do remember she had a thing about hating basketball. She hated basketball, thought it was horribly unhealthy.
Was she an old teacher? She'd have to be
She was pretty
old.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was only, what, 20 years after you were there.
Yeah.
So
20, maybe 23.
60,
24.
46, 66.
Oh, 20 years, I guess.
So, and Mark was going to Holy Cross, and the other kids were going to
McWayne.
McQueen School. Did Dad like his new job that he had with Garvey? Or not, yeah.
I guess he liked
Harvey
it, but
Ironworks.
I don't think he knew. He didn't know what he's doing. He didn't know anything about. He didn't know anything about the steel business, iron business. Bluffed his way through. And Garvey was happy to get him, I guess. Needed a manager, but I think it'd be a little difficult for somebody to walk into a company that didn't know anything about the building industry, for one, basic building industry, and two, steel. Maybe he knew something about steel because he was a metalsmith in the Navy. So maybe he did know something about it, but never in a commercial way. You know.
He just seemed to like it though, or did he seem nervous about not knowing what he was doing?
He seemed nervous about not
Okay.
knowing what he was doing, but he, you know, Jim liked him. He seemed to like him. We went to Las Vegas with the Garveys, you remember? Took that trip to Las Vegas. He made him vice president
Yeah.
week before he fired him. It was a strange thing, you know.
When did he fire him?
Well, I don't think it was a week before, but probably at least not more than a month.
Okay, so how
3
long?
to 4
How
weeks.
long altogether did Dad work at Garvey Ironworks?
Oh, a year.
Just 1 year. Okay.
Just about a year.
Well, I do remember that a little bit about that Christmas at Van Nortwick. It was the first snow that any of us had ever seen.
Well, that was the big blizzard. Of
Yeah, it was a big blizzard.
67.
I think that was January of '67. I remember we took pictures of
Huge
that.
blizzard.
Oh yeah, amazing.
It broke records.
And I remember that same January, Louette and Ralph came again with the kids, this time with Ralph. I remember that because he was there right about the time that the Apollo fire took place, Apollo 1 fire. You remember anything about that visit?
I thought we were in the other house.
No.
We didn't have any room. Did they stay in a hotel?
They must have. They weren't there a lot, for very long, but I remember they were there.
Oh, they stayed with my mother and dad.
Ah,
Yeah, my mother and dad. They must have stayed there.
So we had probably early that fall, we probably had Thanksgiving at your mom's house.
Oh, we never had things.
Never had Thanksgiving there?
Never.
We just
Don't
had
you
both.
remember? You never ate there.
I don't remember.
Well, I don't remember because we never ate there, ever.
Okay.
We
So-
had one time when we were there, we had like a little late. It was a Sunday, we had sort of like a lunch. A little lunch there one Sunday. That was the only
So she
time.
didn't
She
want to have
got
us
too
over?
Oh,
Oh.
children made her
They-
very
they
nervous.
did.
Very. That's why she was so, upset with me having a big family. Because children, it's
Messing with stuff.
very nerve-wracking. And I, for somebody who was only going to have 2 children or whatever, I got so that children did not make me nervous. I was more a little edgy, I think, than a lot of people, but I didn't want them to get hurt or get into anything. And basically, when I was around, nobody got too hurt. When I went to Las Vegas, of course. Mark had his accidents, and but I don't think I got used to having a whole bunch of kids around, and it was hard for me to understand why my mother, wouldn't want to,
See the kids more.
because my children weren't bratty. I wouldn't want bratty children around screaming and yelling and acting naughty either. But truthfully speaking, we didn't have a bratty family.
Was there any kind of hope or expectation from your mom